Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's version of our nanoCHAT NeWBiEs edition, which is the Ionic YouTube series about what it's like to teach a foundation level inorganic chemistry class for the first time. My name is Anthony Fernandez, and I am a professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at Merrimack College in North Andover, Mass. And this week, I have the pleasure of hosting a discussion between our newbies, Wes Farrell and Shirley Lynn, who will be discussing their joint adventures in teaching inorganic chemistry at the U.S. Naval Academy. And I just want to note that on this day, it is apt that we are talking to them at the Service Academy, because this day is the only day of the year that is a command to March 4th. I spoke to the two of you after your second week of classes, and I'm really excited to hear sort of how things have gone in the past week. So how'd it go? How have things changed since then?
I think the burning question is, when is spring break? We are, finishing up week 8 and spring break. So we have one more week until spring break, but it's certainly been a lot, right? It's a lot for the students. It's a lot for us. Our students actually are taking 2 other majors courses alongside inorganic. One is quantum mechanics and the other one is the integrated lab. And all I can say is that it's the schedule is just jam-packed. So next week, they have an exam in all 3 courses, 2 of them on one day. And then we actually moved our exams, so it wouldn't be on the same day, but it just didn't make anything better because everything's just, backing right up into the week before spring break. But yeah, we're excited to move forward. We started, we finished solids and we're starting acid-base chemistry.
Yeah, I think we're all ready for this break. Anthony, since the last time we all spoke, we've covered a lot. Shirley said we've done solids. We also went through symmetry, point grooves, molecular orbital theory. I think Shirley and I both felt the least comfortable with solids because I think that's the thing that we're the least familiar with. And we don't do that kind of chemistry, in our own research lab. So I think that was one of the more challenging topics. Using the ICE model kits certainly helped, and we talked about those in previous videos. But I am certainly happy to get into acid-base chemistry, Lewis acids and bases, hard soft acid-base theory, and then transitioning into coordination compounds, probably starting either just before spring break or right when we come back. But like Shirley said, it's just a really busy time. My class had a quiz today. They've got their exam next week and all these other exams. So there's a lot that they're doing right now. It's a very busy time. And I'm just curious, Anthony, do your students have a similar struggle with their workload when they're taking this course in particular?
Absolutely, Wes. So at Merrimack, our students have 3 courses that they need to take in the fall of their junior or senior years. Their course in inorganic, in biochemistry, in what we call biophysical chemistry, which is sort of our first semester of PChem. And it's a heavy load. They all have labs, and we've had to spread them out over the junior and senior year because kids were getting overwhelmed by just the sheer amount of work. And so I totally get where your students are, and your students aren't the only ones who sort of feel this crunch, right? Because often what my students say is that it's in the junior year when they're learning how to think like chemists, right? And so it's a transition for them from sort of the lower level classes to the more rigorous upper level classes, and it's hard for them. So I totally get that. And And just to hear your chat last week about the struggles of teaching solid state, I've been teaching this for 22 years, and I still struggle this day to teach solid state because I'm in the same boat as the two of you. And so after hearing how it started, how did it go this week? Trying to finish up that. I'm curious at sort of how you taught it, because maybe I can learn something from this as well.
I think for me, I struggled just like the students in the visualization. It just is really, really hard. You talk about cubic close pack being the same as face under cubic, and I can kind of see it. I can, look at the models and turn them around, but it's still really hard. And I had a great office hour session with a couple of students, and they were sort of like, where are the octahedral holes, right? And we're looking at one of the ICE model kits, and we're trying to find the and when it's only one unit cell, I mean, you can see one hole, but then to sort of say there are n holes for n atoms in the lattice is really hard to see. And one of the things I appreciate so much about Viper is like, just looking at different LOs. Barb Reisner has one on Crystal Maker for teaching solids. And she writes in the description that even though she's a solid state chemist, she has trouble teaching it because the visualization is really hard. So it just is great to have that kind of feedback. On the Discord this week, Dean Johnson posted that he has updated his site on solid state structure. So in addition to the symmetry site that everyone knows and loves, he has this additional site now. And like first thing Monday morning, I was showing my students, you can go to this and look, it does the cutaways. And so you can see how it's an eighth of an atom at the corners. So it was really helpful to have all of that. But yeah, I don't think there's a magic bullet. I told the students in office hours, use all the resources you can. I gave them a couple of ICE kits to take with them. And I said, just don't lose the pieces, right? But do your best to play with them this weekend. How about you, Wes?
Yeah, so I used that new website as well. I saw it just in the nick of time. I shared it to them. I think they took something from it. And we also used the Crystal Maker website as well to show them the different packing structures. And we did a literature discussion along with that to kind of show them how solid state chemistry is done in the real world in a real research lab. And I think seeing that, while it was a little bit more confusing because the structures are a little more complicated, I think it did help kind of nail down some of those key concepts. One of the things I thought was really interesting, I just wanted to note, is a student came in my office to talk about something else, but he said, a lot of these papers we're looking at for these literature discussions, I noticed they're all funded by the Department of Energy. Why is that? And it completely caught me off guard. But we had a good discussion about how inorganic chemistry, why it would be of interest to the Department of Energy. I just thought it was interesting that he even bothered to notice that. Like, we didn't direct their attention to the funding sources, but he had happened to look it up.
Is that something you've seen, Anthony, with your students, that they pick up things from the literature that like we just, is sort of not obvious to us?
There are things that the students do pick up that I take for granted, but that isn't one of them. So I thought that was really interesting that they picked up a funding source. I'm not even sure that my students would have even gone that far down to actually go in and see that. So, and excuse me, and then so that's really interesting. And then Shirley, are there any other LOs that you've used to help, or have you covered sort of all the ones that you've used?
So for this particular one, I think last week we talked about the LOs. One thing I want to mention though was about literature discussions and how we've been very committed, Wes and I, to trying to do one each chapter at least. And we've done 3 to 4 at this point. And I think the students are finally sort of settling in a little bit into our pattern. It's great to mine Viper, and we really embrace the adopt and adapt. So, when you open one and you're like, gosh, my students are not going to be able to answer these questions, but they can, they can answer this subset, but not that subset. And just like taking out the ones that you don't think that they were going to do well on or meet your learning goals, and then subbing in ones that you want. Like, it's just really fluid, and it's been a great process, and I've really enjoyed looking at what's on Viper. But we've also, Wes and I have spent time writing a few new ones, which we hope to get on the site soon, so that it can be part of our NeWBiEs collection of LOs.
Well, that actually is great, because I know that I always struggle, especially in solids, to find good articles that to use. So I will really go and look forward to see those at some point. So that's really wonderful. And so at this point, thanks Shirley and Wes for a great conversation. I've learned some things here today that, and I hope that all of those who will watch this will also learn some things. And so I hope that those of you who do find this interesting will either go watch the rest in the series that are that are posted on YouTube, or watch the ones in the future that are on the channel. Also, I encourage you to join into the Viper Pit, which is on Discord, and we use that to sort of have active discussions all the time. And so I hope that you'll all come back next week when Wes and Shirley go and talk about their upcoming exam, and hopefully they get to talk more about coordination chemistry. And I hope all of you go out today and march forth. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Anthony.
Anthony.